faculty members, and dear students. Today, we have all gathered here to attend a live session on how to plan for startup and legal and ethical steps involved in enterprise development, which would be going to chaired by our chief guest, Mr. Bansal. Mr. Bansal is a rank holder CA qualified in May 2007. He is a registered valuer with IBBI and a CFA from the USA and an LLB too. He worked with Deloitte and Ernst and Young for 6 years. Balwan is passionate about startups and entrepreneurs and therefore loves to serve them. He has served several unicorn, mid-sized startups and small startups. 10 years ago, he set up a consulting company in the name of Acupro Consulting with other partners. Now, Acupro has grown for a team of 70 plus professionals and has served more than 500 plus clients, including 350 plus multinationals and 100 plus startups and 20 plus P funds and other investors in the last 10 plus years. Acupro is proud of learning and happiness culture in the office. Now, I would like to request our chief guest, Mr. Bansal, to address the August gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mudit, for the introduction. So this is a very warm introduction. Thank you so much. Thank you to to Major General Rajinder Kumarji. Thank you so much, Madam Rakhi Chauhanji. Thank you so much, Alpa Sethi for giving this opportunity for talking to the young professionals. It's a pleasure to be with you all and talk to you. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining this seminar. So first of all, I would start by congratulating you each and everyone that you are in early 20s today. So India is providing lots of opportunities. India provides lots of opportunities today, which was not provided like 20 years ago or 25 years ago, which was not provided at the time our forefathers were working in the country. So during the next 1 hour, what I'm going to take you through that how India has changed in the last 20 years and how can you start your own startup and what are the legal and the compliance requirement to build a startup. So we'll discuss all these things in the next 1 hour. So let me share with you a small presentation. Are you able to see my presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great. Great. So what has changed in India is basically, you see that, like before coming Geo, internet connectivity in the country was very poor. But after this introduction, after this Geo came in, the Bharti, Airtel and all other telecom giants created lots of internet bandwidth in the country. Now, what has happened is that creating a content-based company has become very easy, right? Earlier, you couldn't see YouTube or other video channels without buffering, without it taking time to buffer all the content. But now, because internet is everywhere, high-speed internet is everywhere, you can think of creating companies where internet usage is required. Not only internet connectivity, you see that how India has grown. The people in the country are using smartphones. So in the country, we have seen that more than 20 crore people, in fact, more than 25 crore people use smartphones now. So these dynamics, the changing dynamics, has created an opportunity for the people to create startup in the field of technology, where you need internet connectivity. You can reach to the smaller village. You can go to the tier 2, tier 3 cities. Uh, people are using internet. People are using smartphone. So this is the one opportunity that has got created in the last 5-7 years. So it's a good time to make a startup. In addition to that, what has happened is that risk-taking capability and technological uh, technological talent in the country has increased. What used to happen like 20-25 years ago, whenever somebody is passing from a institution like IIT, etc., so people used to think that they should move to other country and start their career there. That trend has that trend has reduced a lot. So now India is providing a lot of opportunity to the people to make their own startup. So India, the GDP of the country has multifolded in the last 20-25 years. India provides good standard of living now. India is, somehow reached at a level where developed countries have reached. So people don't think to move outside India for their career or for their lifestyle. So India provides all that opportunity. So these things like ability to take risk and working in India. Yeah. So what has happened is that these developments has helped anybody to make a startup in India. So considering these the infrastructure in India is developing a lot. People, the talent is there. So we should we have an opportunity. Everyone has an opportunity to uh, create the startup. As you are in early 20s, you have that opportunity that you can take risk and can think of creating the startup. So that is what I would like to tell. In addition to this technological development, we have this fundraising also. So what you see is that thousands of companies get funded every year, and we weekly publish the fundraised by the startup. We see that almost $200 million gets funded every week. So the earlier challenge that infrastructure was not there, funding was not there, good team member or the talent was not there. These all problems have reduced, and now it's a good time to make a startup. So how many of you want to start a startup? Can you say yes in the chat box? I'm not sure whether that facility to interact with is available. Can anybody like write in the chat box? Okay. Anyhow, so this is the landscape that has changed in India. Now I'll just quickly talk about need and desires that gets fulfilled by the startup. If you see, like when we were in college in early 2000, right, we used to have like whether we have purse before leaving the home, we have the keys for our vehicle, or we have food with us so that like when we return home, we don't face any problem. So all these problems, all these things are not required, may not be required today. So like if you have your mobile, you can make any payment like through Paytm or any other media, and every even small shop is using these kind of technologies to accept payments. So you need not to have any purse. You need not to have uh, uh, you know key of your vehicle, keys of your vehicle. You can just like press few clicks and get your Ola or Uber ride. Similarly, if you see that if you see that uh, you may not have food ready when you are leaving home. You can just press few clicks. You can get food anywhere, right? So these are the trends that have changed. So these were the needs of the people. These were like problems that people were facing, that they would not get the food wherever they are. These problems were thought by these entrepreneurs, these young people, and they created technology around it, and they were able to solve this problem. And today if you see that because they were able to solve these problems, they were able to create uh, these unicorns, these startups. So, but we have to take care while developing or while creating a startup, is that whether we would be able to fulfill the need and desire of our customer, whether we are working to solve any problem of the startup. So basically, what we say, when you are going to think about a startup, you have to make an NDP analysis. What is NDP analysis? NDP analysis is basically what is the need and desire of the consumers, and what are the problems that we are going to solve for our customer. Similarly, if you see what kind of problems are solved by different startup, like we all know Paytm, Byju's, Ola, Swiggy, Zerodha, Oyo Rooms, Big Basket, Car24s have used the technology and solved like lots of problems. The life become easier in that sense that most of the things are available just by by clicking few of the icons on your mobile, and you get the desired uh, goods and service. So that how these startups have changed the life of people, right? If you have an idea where you think that this is the problem that is being faced by the community, you can and you have an idea how that can be solved. So you know you can go ahead and explore that idea and create that startup. So all these startups started with a very small with small background, and like everything was started with one or two people. So you also have that opportunity to create these startups. So this world is changing. The world is changing very in different way. So this Tom Goodwin has said it very well, that Uber, the world's largest taxi company, does not have any vehicle, right? The Facebook, the most popular media company, does not create any content. Alibaba, the most valuable retailer, does not have any inventory. Similarly, the Airbnb, the world's largest accommodation provider, does not own any of the real estate. So world is changing. Something interesting is happening in the world. So we are living in a very different world where there are lots of opportunities to create these kind of startups. So I'm sure that many of you would be thinking of starting your own startup. But from my experience, I can tell you that these all startups have started very small, and if you think that you have the idea, you have the courage to start a startup, any company can grow bigger. So this is what I wanted to tell you about the landscape in India and outside India. Now the question arises: what are the other impacts that startup has done on our economy? So there is a data that got published in Times of India, right? It says that jobs that has been created in 2020 is like 4.2 lakhs jobs was created by these startups. So one of the interesting thing, these are the just direct employment, but I was talking to a food delivery company and they told me that they have like more than 5 lakhs driver. They have more than 3 lakh restaurant and like lot many employees and vendors. So if you see that they are giving direct income to more than 10 lakh people, direct income to 10 lakh people. So this is the kind of impact that is created by these startups. So if you are able to create a successful startup, it not only help your customer, it also helps the people who wants to work with you, creating employment opportunity for those many people. So this may be a great satisfaction to you if you are able to create lots of employment for people. Not only that, you see that the kind of unicorns have been created in India. So I'll show you what kind of companies have been created, what kind of unicorns have been created in India. So in 2011, we have only one in Mobi. That was the first unicorns in India, right? Then the Flipkart. So initially, you see that there was just one unicorn in a year. But if you see in 2020, 2019, 2018, so there are like 8, 10 unicorns, gets created every year. Unicorns, you may be knowing that what is unicorn? Unicorn is a company that has achieved a valuation of more than $1 billion. So these companies has achieved more than $1 billion valuation. Every year we are growing in terms of startups in the country. So last year we have created almost 11 unicorns. So considering the success of these companies, uh, it is clearly evident that we all have that opportunity. And because you are in early 20s, there is a sound. And can you please mute? Yes. So basically, now because you are in early 20s, you have the ability to take that risk, and you definitely can think of creating a startup. Not only they have served the customer, they have served the people. They have created a good wealth for themselves also. You see, like these people have created, thousands of crores for themselves. So, so these are the benefit that if you are able to do a startup, a successful startup. So, but now question arises, what kind of startup you should start, whether you have an idea, whether you don't have an idea, what to do, right? So, so first of all, you must have an idea to start a startup, and you should analyze whether you have an idea, whether you don't have an idea. So if you have an idea, what should you do with it? So this idea is analyzed in a way that whether it would be able to fulfill the NDP of your customer, which is need, desire, and problem of a customer, right? Sometimes people are, people think that it's my idea, it's definitely would go and run, and a company can be created out of that idea. So everybody think that, my own idea is great idea, but you should analyze it. You should talk to the people whether, this idea can flow or not, right? So whether it actually solve the problem of the prospective customer or not, and whether the customer would be ready to pay for that, whether the customer would be ready to pay for the product or service out of that idea. So this is generally the main focus that we have while analyzing analyzing an idea, whether this idea can be transformed into a business or not, right? Not only that, we should go and analyze what are our competitors, right? How we'll be different from our customer, what would be our secret sauce, which will differentiate our product and service from the product and service from our customer, right? So what would be our customer and how they will be benefited. So after analyzing these ideas, you can after analyzing these ideas, you can make an opinion whether your idea would be converted into a business or not, right? So then this question arises generally: what do you need a co-founder? Because generally what we have seen is that while funding a company, investor also wants that there has to be a co-founder. So what we have seen is that a company with a co-founder generally get funded easily as compared to a company with the sole founder. So these are the questions that you need to have, you need to answer before taking a plunge to start a startup. So generally what happens is that, some people, some of the students don't have an idea. So what should they do? So what I've seen is that, following a good entrepreneur or following or working with a founder helps you to generate more idea, right? So when you will be out of the college, you should find an opportunity to work with a person who has created the startups, so that you also learn what is their thought process and what are the processes to create these startups. So that is generally the best way to learn how to create startup. So that would be my advice to all of you, that if you have an idea, you think that you will be able to convert that idea into a big business, please go ahead and start that. But if you think that you don't have an idea, you should go and like work with some of the entrepreneurs, so that you learn how to generate ideas and how to create those businesses. Should we go ahead, or like should we take questions in between?
Sir, as you are able with, and if you think that go presentation first, and that would be all better, because we have a question and answer round with the students and all the participants.
Okay. Great. So let me quickly finish the presentation next 10 minutes, then we'll be able to take then we'll take the questions, right? So next is like what are the stages of startup life cycle, right? So first you get an idea, then you find what are the first you get the idea, then you analyze that idea as we discussed, and then you decide that you will go ahead with this idea, right? Then you find what are the sources of funding, right? Generally business start with your own seed capital first, and then probably from family and friends, you get some funding, right? And set up that business, right? And after setting up that business, generally you talk to several VC funds, etc., where they are able to provide you the required capital, and you are able to grow and expand uh, that business. And as business grow, then obviously you think to either taking that business to the IPO, or uh, or you keep growing that business and exit only at your retirement. So this is generally the life cycle of a startup, right? So because most of the students are from legal background, so I'll quickly discuss what are the legal questions that arises while you are starting a startup. So first question generally arises: what should be the legal structure of the business? So what does legal structure means? That whether you should operate through a company, whether you should operate through an LLP, whether you should operate through a sole proprietorship or a partnership. So these are generally four structures that are generally prevalent in the market, right? So each structure has its own benefit losses, right? So generally people avoid these sole proprietors and partnerships because these are very limited structure, and it's very difficult to create big businesses in partnerships and proprietorships. But these company and LLP are these two structures that is uh, generally used by the startups. So what is the benefit of a company and what is the benefit of an LLP? So generally what we have seen is that where a company where the business requires funding, then company structures work best because there is a shareholding structure, right? So you see any of the funded startup, they are generally in the form of company. But sometime you may have an idea which may not require substantial funding, and it would be profitable very very soon. Then LLP structure works very very well. uh, you know, because it's very easy to draw profits from LLP as compared to a company. So what we have seen is that the people who has created profitable businesses, they want to set up themselves as LLP. But if you see that like profit would come late and you would be required to raise lots of capital, then this company structures work very very well, right? So this is the one thing, one decision point that you have to decide, whether you need funding in the business or not. If you require funds, then obviously uh, company structure is a no brainer, right? So LP structure doesn't work, right? But if you think that business is profitable, then obviously you can go and start with LLP, right? So this is one. Second, we look at what are the regulatory compliances in different structure. So what we see is that company structure has more compliance burden as compared to LLP, right? So uh, if this business is going to be a big business, then obviously you don't care much about the increase in compliance burden, so you go ahead with the company. But if you think that you're not sure whether how big this business is going to be, then obviously you may go and start with LLP. There are other this thing consideration. One is major around uh, taxes on profits, right? If the profit is to be drawn from the company or from the business in the personal hand, then the company structure is a little more taxing, right? So you have to pay more tax in the case of a company structure. When you draw money, you have to pay tax twice. So once, first the company has to pay tax on its profit, And then second, when this profits, taxed profit is distributed in the hands of shareholder, the shareholder has also have to pay taxes in the form of personal taxes on those dividends. So these are like three major. These are three major, three major questions that you need to answer before deciding a legal structure. So, we'll discuss any question if you have during the question answer session. So first, once you decide the structure, whether you are going to go with LLP or you are going to go with a private company, you will go and get that company incorporated. So whatever are the documents that you need to create, like memorandum of association, article of association, or any of the partners agreement, shareholder agreement, etc., that needs to be uh, done. So you create these agreements, right? Uh, you create these agreement, right? Then it is very important to protect your intellectual property rights. What has happened nowadays that most of the uh, most of the value in a business is created in the technology that is getting developed, right? So what has happened is that what if you see these companies like Zerodha, etc., so most of the value is created in the technology they've created. So it is very important to protect that that intellectual property through your intellectual property protection of intellectual property rights, right? So you have to have good employment agreements with your employees so that they cannot steal your intellectual property or the code or the software that you have created for your business, right? So one is entering into employment contract to protect your intellectual property right. Similarly, when you work with any vendor, you generally enter into a NDA, which is like non-disclosure agreement, so that whatever information or whatever code or whatever software you are giving to your vendor or a customer, they can use only for limited purposes. They cannot duplicate or they can not steal your steal your code or the copyright, right? So these needs to be taken care of. uh, so one is this on intellectual property in terms of software codes, etc. Second, uh, uh, you have to have research on your trademark. So name of the business is quite critical, and after some time, if your business is successful, you would have spent lots of money on creating your brand name. So you have to see that you have a brand name which does not infringe the brand name of any other business, right? Because it becomes very costly on a later date. So if you have created a brand name and somebody comes and say that it is infringing his brand name, then what is going to happen? There is going to be lots of litigation. So before choosing a trade name, you have to make sure that this trade name is this trade name can be protected, right? Uh, in addition to that, you should go and get your trademark registered with the trademark authorities, so that if anyone want to duplicate your trademark, he is not able to do it, and you would be able to protect it uh, legally. So intellectual property right is an important area in a startup. So whenever either you are doing your own startup, or whenever you are doing your own startup, or you are helping any startup in the legal matter, then you should take care of their intellectual property rights. Similarly, there are like tax laws and labor laws that also comes under your purview, right? So you should comply the tax laws like TDS, etc., the GST, and like filing of tax returns, etc., and the labor laws, ESI, PAF, etc., right? So you should be able to assist the promoter, or if you are promoter in himself, then you should be able to guide someone so that and you are compliant with your tax and labor laws. Similarly, customer and vendor agreements are important part of the business, part of the legal work in a business, right? So where legal expertise are required. So this is the field of many of you, that you are through your this agreement, you are able to protect the interest of your own startup, or the startup you are working for. So these are the major legal work that arises in a startup. So this is basically at agreement level or at planning level. And obviously, if there is any litigation, there are some cases, then obviously you have to go and defend it before the court. So this is the legal work that needs to be done. Then I'll just quickly run you through the startup initiative that government has undertaken. So government has done a very good job in that sense that as like this government has said that Startup India is one of the main initiative that government has undertaken, right? So by saying it at different platforms, the prime minister could have created could the prime minister have created awareness on these startups, so people are at least aware that there is a concept of startup, and people are motivated to start start these startups. So this is one is on the front of creating awareness. In addition to that, government has tried to do some kind of simplification, some kind of assistance in funding, etc. So simplification, if I talk about what they have done, they have just like done some of the compliance work based on self-certification, right? You need not to go and take approvals from the department. You have to just self-certify and say that this work is done, right? So another things that they have done is that they have created a corpus where fund of fund, right? So they where they give these funds to the VC fund, so that the VC fund can go and invest them into the startup, so that young startups, young startups can be created, right? Similarly, what government is doing, government is talking to the universities, schools, the academia world, right? So they enter into the partnership so that the uh, the 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 schemes, the thought process of the government can be put into place, right? So one is through creation of this innovation center, or incubating centers, etc. So government is trying to create this industry academia partnerships. So then let's quickly talk about how you register yourself as a startup and what are the benefits. So basically, if you have to register yourself as a startup, you should not be uh, more than 7 years old as a company, right? And this limit is 10 years for a biotechnology company, and the turnover should be less than like 25 crores in a financial year, right? If you meet these conditions, and like you should be innovative, etc., so you can go and register yourself with DPIIT, and you'll get yourself registered as startup. And then there is a second approval for tax deduction that you may be required to take, right? Then you have to have be very innovative, so that like you should have a patent in your name, right? So that government can give you the tax exemption. So there are like two registration. One is first registration, where you just get recognized yourself as startup, and you get some kind of benefit from exemption uh, in regulatory compliance or regulatory hurdles. But second, when you talk about the tax exemption, then you have to have the second level approval or approval of your startup. So if we say that there are like almost 45,000 startups registered with DPIIT, only like 350 startups have uh, got second level exemption, second level approval, right? So it's less than 1% who gets the tax exemption. So these are like benefits that we have mentioned here. So they're like tax holidays for 3 years if you get second level exemption, right? So there are like small other tax benefits to the startups. And there are like certain benefits from regulatory requirement, like you can have ECB, right, if you are a startup, right? And you can issue convertible notes, so convertible notes, and you can get that FDI from a foreign investor, right? And uh, similarly this so these are the major relaxation that you get if you set yourself as startup. So that is all from my side. So we finished it, uh, right? So in the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we can take the questions.
Uh, well said. That's really enlightening. And now we should move to our question and answer round. So you all are requested to raise your hand for the same prior asking the question. Any student who would like to ask a question, please raise their hands. So meanwhile, sir, I have because as you well drafted the whole thing, and I have this thing in my mind that ideas are a bit easy, but the implementation is pretty much hard. And what we people think in the initial phase of the startup is that how to maintain the funding, right? Because at the initial age, like if I take myself as a student, so what suggestion you would like to give to all of the students? I know this is very common kind of question to in the all of the people who are really looking forward for the startup. So what your suggestion of behind all of this thing, that how we should maintain that strategy so that we can have a good amount of funding even in these initial days of our startup?
Right, right. So this is true that you require funding for a startup, right? So what we have seen is that there is not lot of money that is required for making a startup, right? And obviously, like, because it's a business, right? You have to take a bit of risk. So initial capital generally comes from either yourself, your family, your friends, right? But what we have seen is that once you are able to establish uh, once you're able to establish proof of concept, then investor is ready to come and invest in the business, right? So yeah, initially, because generally at your age, you don't have an experience, right? And people don't want to invest that much. So generally what we have seen is that initially people may go and join someone where they learn and they create their own capability, and then people are ready to fund their ideas.
uh, Thank you so much, sir, for me. And now we should ensure that gratitude is an incredible impetus for well-being. Rajinder Kumar, AVSM, VSM, SM, retired, is an alumnus of Analyst Law College at University of Pune. He joined in army and served for meritorious 35 years, and afterward his retirement, he joined as director in Amity Law School, Amity University. Now I would request our honorable director to deliver his vote of thanks. Sir, you are on mute. Kindly unmute yourself, please.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Indeed.
And on behalf of Amity Law School, thank you, Mr. Balwan Bansal, for sparing your valuable time. I know how busy a chartered accountant is. I myself wanted to become a chartered accountant. My father wanted me to become, but I failed miserably in BCom. I had a compartment in accountancy. Then I took admission in MCom also, but before I could meet my Waterloo in MCom, I switched over to law. That's how I got my law degree and joined the Indian Army.
So you did a better work than a chartered accountant, sir. So yeah, the country needed your services.
Thank you very much, and we are very grateful to you for such a refreshing talk on startup and various aspects you covered. And I tell my student that even if you're doing law, it's not necessary that you go for practice. You can start your business also. You can start your startup also. Like Mr. Anuj Jaitley, he was basically a lawyer, but he was a finance minister. Similarly, Chidambaram was a lawyer. He is a lawyer now. He's a lawyer, and now he became also the finance minister. So there is no bar. A law student can always begin their startup and can do their business. Is good. Even they can have a legal firm, and all these tips which you are given to the students about legal and ethical aspects of entrepreneurship. These all come very handy. In fact, these all very handy. And we have got a subject rather basis of entrepreneurship development, new idea to startup basis. So it was very nice that you spared your valuable time to tell our students about certain tips of startup, and I'm sure that will stand in good stead with them. And I once again thank you very much for your kind gesture to be with us, and I wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. In fact.
Thank you so much, sir. And with this, we should move further for the valedictory thing. And with this, Swami, your moderator for this session. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir, once again. Attendees, you may leave the meeting.